Hello wonderful people, it's Wild here. Today I'll be showing you some ideas for decorating in the fantasy style. We've got everything from fountains to archways, lighting ideas, and some little things to make your build a little bit more special. So let's get creating. The materials for each build will be shown before we get started. Keep in mind that for some of the materials, you'll want to have a few extra on hand for randomizing textures. There are also timestamps so you can jump ahead to the build you want to see. You can see for the materials for this magical archway, I just have the types of flowers and greenery listed. You'll want to gather as much as you'd like for this build, and it really depends on how lush you want your arch to be. But let's start on the structure of the arch itself. I'll be working up as I go, switching between my different blocks to get a really textured look. We've got lots of different types of cobble materials in here, as well as some moss. Now we're going to start coming down, and you'll see that this arch isn't perfectly symmetrical. This gives it a more natural look. Once we've got the main shape of the arch in, we're going to go in and make the bases of both sides just a little wider. So there's our base shape for the arch. Now keep in mind that if you don't have the exact same distribution as me, that's totally fine. Now let's make the bases larger. I'm going to start on the left hand side of my archway here. And I'm using some stairs and some walls as well as some slabs. So there's the first side. Now over to the right hand side. Then I'll come around here and I think I'll add a slab here and then some walls. Now that we've got our archway shaped, let's switch out these materials for some greenery and some lanterns. Let's start by hanging our lanterns. I'm going to hang these at various heights to give it a really whimsical feeling. I think I'll hang this one down 3 chains. Like that, and maybe 1 chain for this one here. Using chains means we can hang our lanterns off of the stairs. Right, there's our lanterns in. Now we're going to add in some leaves. Once again, it's up to you how many or how little leaves you add at this point. I like to go in and have mainly flowering azalea leaves here, and just a hint of the regular azalea leaves as we already have lots of greenery coming in with the moss. And I'm going to drape it down both sides like this. I'm also going to add a little grouping of leaves falling down this side of the build. And I think I'll bring them over this way. Make sure you're getting leaves on both the front and back of the build. Alright, I think I'm happy with those leaves. Now we'll go in with some flowers. I'm going to add a poppy on this moss, and then I'm going to use a bunch of 2-high flowers as well as some oxeye daisies. And I'm centering these around the base of each side of the arch. I also want to go in and add some bushes down here. And then I'll go in with my 1 high daisies. Let's take a step back. That looks marvelous. This magical planter light would look really pretty leading up to a magical build. You could also switch out the spruce in this build for another kind of wood to suit your style. I'll start by placing 2 coarse dirt here for the planter and surround it with some spruce trapdoors. Now I'll create the fence posts for my lanterns and hang those in. I'll also be placing some coarse dirt around the base of the build. Like that. Next we'll go in with our leaves. I'm using flowering azalea here, but you can use whatever leaves fit with your style. And I'm just hanging them like this. Now I'll go in with my flowers. This enchanted fountain has such a magical illumination, and we'll be using some pearlescent frog lights and some end rods to achieve this, but let's start by creating the base of our fountain using some stone brick materials. I'll also be grabbing out my frog lights now, as well as some amethyst. I'll start by building up 3 high with some stone brick. This is where the center of the fountain will be. And I'll be mixing in some mossy materials here as I go. Then I'll add in a wall and 1 of my frog lights, and then 2 more walls to reach the height of the fountain. Next I'll go on with some slabs, and the rest of my pearlescent frog lights. You can see here that depending on where you place your frog light, you'll end up with a different texture showing, so I want to make sure that I have this top texture showing on all 4 sides. Now I'll switch to my chiseled stone brick to start creating the outline of the fountain. I'll then go in with some stairs. And I'm using some mossy ones here as well. And then I'll fill in the base of the fountain. Just like this. Then want to add in 4 more walls to these corners. And I can grab out my amethyst, and I'll be placing these on top of the slabs. So it should look like that. Now we can put back these materials and start creating the magical swirl around the fountain and add in our water. You'll need a couple buckets of water. I'm placing 1 on this wall here and 1 on the wall below it to waterlog it, like that. You can also waterlog the amethyst blocks if you'd like. That way they're a little easier to see. There we go. To create the magical spiral going around this fountain, I find it easiest to use some placeholder blocks. And I'm going to use these, I've got yellow wool here, but dirt or anything would work fine, to create a rough spiral shape going around the outside of the fountain. And I'm slowly building up as I go. This will allow us to have something to place our blocks on. It's up to you how high you go around your fountain, but keep in mind that the more you spiral, the more materials you'll need. It's also helpful to take a look at this spiral from above to keep it in line with where you're going with your fountain. Once you're happy with the rough shape of your spiral, you can go in with some purple stained glass panes and just place them kind of surrounding the outline that you've got here. I like to place some underneath as well, and then I'll switch to some white stained glass panes and do just the same thing. Keep in mind that you don't want to be placing your glass panes right next to each other so they connect. You want to have them all separate. Then you can go in with some end rods and do the same thing again. Once you've got all of these materials placed in, you can break your outline and make some adjustments. Alright, let's break this outline and see where we need to add more of this magical effect. I'll take a step back. I think this looks really beautiful, but I'm going to add a few more blocks coming up this direction just to bring the spiral up a little higher. So I'll go in and create a little extra outline and place in some more panes. There we go, that really does look magical. This simple lighting idea adds something special to a woodland walkway. I've just got some greenery here, and the number of each of these depends on how lush you want the greenery surrounding your lights. But let's start with adding in our lighting placement first. I'm going with a natural look with these lights, and I'm just distributing them across my logs and my fences. You can see I've kept to a triangular shape here. This just makes the build more appealing to the eye. I'm going to hang a few vines and then go in with some ferns. Got some tall ferns as well. And some grass. There we go. What a lush looking lighting system. These magical mushrooms can easily be customized by switching out the colored blocks. I'm using amethyst, prismarine, and some brain coral blocks here, and I've got water to keep my coral colored. Let's start on the largest of these mushrooms. And I'm going to begin by building the stem. I'm using a smooth quartz here to achieve the look of the stem because it all flows into one another, like that. On top of this, I'll start my first layer of my mushroom using my amethyst blocks. And I'm adding in one of the spots here. Next, I'll create the top layer of the mushroom and another one of our spots. And now I'll start coming down on my two sides. At the front, it'll go like this. Now I'll rotate round to the left-hand side. Like that. Now I'll rotate round to the back side of this mushroom. And round to the right-hand side. Here's how it should look. Now we'll add in a smaller mushroom. And to place this mushroom in, I'm going to count 3 blocks out from this diagonal, 1, 2, 3, then 3 along to the right, 1, 2, 3, and I'll be placing my stem just here. For this, I'll be using a diorite wall. Now to place this next bit, it can be a little bit tricky, so a placeholder block will come in handy. I'm going to start by placing white wool in a circle like this, and then a water bucket on top. Then I'm going to quickly break and replace these white wool with my brain coral blocks. Of course, if it flows like this, that's totally fine. You can always just use a placeholder block to put your coral back in place. Tucking some water inside will keep these brain coral blocks this bright pink colour, and you could use any coral block you'd like. For the final mushroom, I'm going to count 3 blocks over from here, 1, 2, 3 to place in the start of my stem, so this is going on the 4th block across. And next I'll be building up. I'm going to have this mushroom angled slightly backwards, and I'm using some prismarine here. I'll also add in my white spots as I go. There we go, look at this magical trio of mushrooms. This large floral fountain would make a stunning showpiece in your village. There's quite a few materials here. Let's start by creating the base of the fountain. We'll be using some stone brick materials for this, and I've got some mossy material as well as some clay. You'll also need some podzol and some spruce fences. Then we'll come back and grab our greenery and details later. Let's start by creating the outline. I'm going to begin with my podzol like this, and then I'm going to come around either side. Now this build is symmetrical, so once you've got one pattern down, you just repeat it over and over till you end up with a circle. So we've created our first side and a corner, and we'll keep doing this. 3 for the side, and then we'll create another corner. Three for the back side and another corner. We're almost halfway around now. And onto the last side and the final quarter. Now you can check from above that everything is symmetrical. With our outline in place, we can create the fountain part of the fountain. So I'm going to find the center of the build here, and you should have a 1 block center. So here's the center, and then I'm going to come a block out to either side to create a little plus shape, and then fill in this 3x3 square, just using some stone brick. I'll then come 1 block up in each corner, and 2 blocks up in the center. I'll go in with some walls now. Just like that. I'm then going to have slabs coming out of each of these blocks. So there's the base of our fountain. Let's keep working upwards. I'm going to place in 3 blocks going up with my stone brick, and then I'm going to bring in some stairs. I've got 1 coming out like this. I'll then place blocks on top of each of these, and then another stair coming out from them. In the gaps, I'll add in a podzol, just like this. Keeping working up, got some more stone bricks, and some walls. I'll add another stone brick and some stairs, and slabs in each of the corners. I'm actually going to bring these slabs all 1 block up, so it looks like a block, but it is 2 slabs on top of one another. I'll place a chiseled stone brick in the center, some more walls, And then we can finish off the very point of our fountain. Here's what we've got. To fill in the base of the fountain, I'll be using some more stone brick, some mossy stone brick, and some clay. Keep in mind that you may need to move where you've got your clay when it comes time to putting in the greenery, because the clay is what we can place our drip leaves on. So I'll just start by putting in a distribution that I like the look of, and then I can come back and change it later. Make sure you get underneath these slabs when you're filling in around your fountain. The number of these fountain base materials that I've got here is a rough guide of what you'll need, but when you're doing this kind of random texture, it's important to have a few extra on hand so you can make adjustments. So here's what we've got for the base so far. Now I'm going to come in with a few more walls. I'll be building them up 3 high in each of the gaps between these slabs. Like that. Now I'm going to go back to my materials chest, and I can put away all of these. I'm going to keep my spruce fences, but I'm also going to grab out some spruce trapdoors, some flower pots, and some end rods. I'll be placing a fence on top of each of these stone bricks on the outline. And I'll be placing an end rod on top of each of those, as well as on top of each of these stone brick towers. Like that. I'll then come up to the top and add in an end rod on top of here, and I'll surround each of these little planters with a spruce trapdoor. I also want to add trapdoors to either side of these planters on the base of the fountain. If you're enjoying today's video, I'd really appreciate if you consider liking and subscribing. There we go, and we're all the way around. Here's how your fountain should be looking so far without the water. I've gathered all of the rest of my materials now, and I've also grabbed some water buckets and some white wool placeholder blocks, although you could use dirt or anything like that. I'm going to start placing in my water now, and I'm using these placeholder blocks to make sure the water flows in the right direction. The first water I'll place will be on each of these walls here, and they should flow down like this. Next, I'll place water on this wall and on this fence. Once those are in, I can break all of these white wool placeholder blocks. Next, I'm going to place water on each of these walls here. You can waterlog the walls below if you'd like. Like that. I'm also going to waterlog the whole base of the fountain. To do this, I'm just going around and I'm placing in water to make sure that there's no flowing sections like that. Almost all the way around now. And I think we've got it all covered. Now we can go in with some plants. I'm going to start with my water plants first, and I'm going in with my small drip leaves, as these have to be placed on the clay blocks. This is where you might find you need to replace some of the blocks in the base of your fountain with some clay to get the distribution of the drip leaves that you'd like. Then I'll go in with some larger drip leaves. These also need to be placed on the clay. And I want these at different heights around the base of the fountain. And I think I'll have one more on this side. And maybe one more in the corner. like that. Next we've got some lily pads. And I might add one more on this side. And I'm going to swap out these materials now for these other greenery. I've also got some pots, so I'll place those in before I grab out all my greenery, just to make sure I can have them all in my hotbar at the same time. And let's start planting some flowers. It's up to you what you plant where, but I like to have a distribution of heights and colours. It's important to look at your build from different angles to make sure you like the distribution. And don't be afraid to break and replace until you have a look you're happy with. I think I'll have a blue orchid here. You can see I'm taking a step back every time I get to a new side of the fountain. And I'm rotating around and checking the distribution of the colour. And we've got our final two pots here. That really does look beautiful. This flower cart would look lovely outside a flower shop or market stall. We'll start by creating the cart itself. I'll just be using some extra coarse dirt as a placeholder block to help me put in my stairs, but you could use another material if you'd like. Here's the base of our cart. I'm using some oak trapdoors for the wheels and some fence gates for the handles. Now we'll add in some planters. And some pots. I'll switch out these building materials now. For my flowers, some seeds and an item frame. And there we have it. This floral walkway makes a real focal point of your paths. You'll also be needing, alongside these materials, some sort of shovel. Just a wooden one would work fine. Let's start by creating the base of our walkway. I'm going to place in my mossy cobblestone wall, and then I'll count 3 blocks over and place one more. I'll count 3 to either side and place in some more. 1, 2, 3. And we should have a total of 6 posts. Now, of course, you can make this walkway longer if you'd like, or shorter. I'll then build 2 high with spruce fences on each. And add 1 more wall on top. Now let's create our little archways. So I've placed a slab on top of each. Now you might find it helpful to have a placeholder block for this next part. I'm just going to grab out some dirt. And then I'm going to build and fill in this whole section just for now to allow me to create my archways with more ease. So I'm placing in these spruce stairs, and you can see to place these, I'm clicking in the top corner at the back of each of the dirt blocks. That means I'm placing them up the right way and facing in the right direction. Now that all my stairs are in, I can break this dirt. And I can place some slabs in between. Next, I'll go in with some moss. And I'm just creating an organic shape here with the moss. And I'll fill in the rest using some campfires. And you can see I'm rotating as I place these so they end up going in different directions. Then I'll use my shovel to put out all these campfires. So it should look like this from above. Now I'll put away the rest of these materials, leaving my spruce trapdoors, and I'm also going to grab out some leaves here and some lanterns. I'm going to be placing the spruce trapdoors underneath at different angles so they end up with a different texture, and I don't want to cover up all of the blocks, just the moss and then some of the campfires. Right, I think I'm happy with the number of campfires showing. I'll also hang some lanterns now. This just adds a bit more texture underneath, and you can always go in and switch out the direction you've got some of these trapdoors for even more texture. Now for the foliage, I'm going to use mainly flowering azalea leaves here, but you could mix in some azalea leaves as well if you'd like. I want to keep in mind that I want some of the moss showing so I can plant some flowers on top of the roof of my walkway. When doing this kind of placement, it's always helpful to take a step back. I'd like to have some leaves draping down this side. So I'll hang some here like that. I think I want to add a little bit more curve to this. Just like this. Now I want some leaves on this side, and I'm actually going to bring them over the edge of the end of my walkway. Almost there, I think. I think I'm happy with that. Now I'll grab out my walkway materials. I've got gravel, cobble, and mossy cobble. And I'll also grab out my flowers. When I create this pathway, I want to leave a little bit of the grass showing for a natural look to the path. I'm happy with that distribution now. Let's plant some flowers. And don't forget to place a few on top of the roof. You can see on top of the roof here I've mainly used the red, the blue and the white flowers, as we've already got quite a lot of the pink colour going on. If you're looking for a server to play alongside some wonderful people on and get to build alongside of me, be sure to check out my Patreon. I'd love to have you join my legend family. Going in with my last kind of flower now. These are some oxeye daisies. What a lovely walkway. This mushroom gazebo with the swing will look great alongside any fantasy build, especially a build like my mushroom castle. We'll start by creating the stem for our mushroom, and I'm using some smooth quartz here. Now if you don't have smooth quartz, you could easily substitute this with some sandstone, but make sure you're using smooth sandstone so that the whole stalk texture flows into one another. I'm having my mushroom lean in this direction towards the right, and I've left a little room at the front here so I could do some landscaping. I'm just working my way up and using some stairs to sculpt the shape of our mushroom here. I'm also making sure to taper off the mushroom as I get closer towards the top. So here's where we're at with our mushroom stem. Now we need to start adding in the base of the mushroom top. We're going to be aiming to create a circular shape here. I'm going to start by placing in a slab coming out towards this side, and then fill in the corners. From here it's going to be symmetrical, so I'll come 2 blocks out from each side. Then I'll begin filling in these corners with some more quartz blocks. I'll then come underneath and place in just a few more slabs. So it should look like this. Now this mushroom top can be a little bit tricky as we'll be mixing in the red mushroom blocks, red wool and red concrete, as well as our white wool spots as we go. So we're going to be working in layers to make it as easy as possible. But before we can begin, I'm going to break these quartz blocks along here, as they'll get in the way of our building, and if you'd like you can fill in the rest of this section with quartz just so the inside of the build has a nice clean look as well. Of course you don't need to do this in survival. Alright, let's get working on our first layer. This one is going to be at the same layer as these slabs here, and we're just going to be going around in a circle. Now keep in mind that mushrooms are natural, so if yours isn't exactly the same as mine, that's totally okay. You just want to make sure you have a look you're happy with. And if you're planning on building more than one of these, you would want to have your mushrooms just a bit different. You could even try playing around with having some different colours. And don't be afraid to break and replace blocks as you go until you get the look that you're happy with. So there's our first layer. Now we're going to add a little bit of a frill around the base of the mushroom here by building down a few blocks. I think I'll have one coming down here. I've got my final ones along this side. There we go. I think I might move this block one more over. There we go, that has a less even look now, which makes the build look a bit more natural. Alright, let's move up and work on the next layer, and we're tapering in the shape as we go here. There's the next layer. Now onto the next layer up. One thing to keep in mind here is that it is good to keep each of your red materials in little groupings. So you can see I've got a grouping of the red mushroom block here, and I've got larger groupings of the red wool and the red concrete elsewhere on the build. Here's where we're reaching really close to the top of the mushroom build here, so you'll need to be adding in a deeper layer so that way we cover up the whole top of the mushroom. So here's how this should look from above. When I missed one block in here, I'm going to put in a red concrete. And now we're on to our final layer. Now if you're in creative, it's helpful to put in a layer of smooth quartz blocks here, but of course in survival you don't need to do this. I'm going to start by putting in my white spots for this layer. Then I'll go in with my red mushroom, my red wool, and I'll finish off by filling in with some red concrete. Here's how it looks. Now let's add some details. I've grabbed out all the rest of my building materials now, as well as a direct wool, as I want to add in a small mushroom. I'm going to place this just outside the canopy of the larger mushroom, and I'll also be needing a few of these red mushroom blocks to make the top of the mushroom. We've got our smaller mushroom like that. Next I'll go in with some greenery. I'm going to drape this over the top of the larger mushroom. And you can add as much or as little of this as you'd like. But I do think it adds a nice lush feel, and it really makes the red of the build pop. We'll also add some hanging down the back side of the build. Like that. While I've got these leaves out, I'm going to add in some small bushes. Got one here at the front, and I might trim this down to make a little bit more space for some flowers. I'll add one at the back as well. Now I'll go in with some podzol. You can place this under the bushes if you'd like. I like to leave grass underneath the bushes as it makes the whole bush look more lush and green. I'm just going to kind of let the podzol fade out towards the edges here, but I like to have it nice and focused underneath the cap of the actual mushroom. I also want to make sure I have some underneath this little mushroom off to the side. I think I'm happy with the distribution we've got now. Just a couple more blocks. There we go. Next, let's hang our little swing. I'll be hanging it from these 2 blocks here. You want to hang your chains down so that they're just above the ground. Like this. I'll then use a placeholder block to place in 2 spruce trapdoors. So there's our little swing. Now let's hang some lanterns. I'll be using some chains for a few of these as well. And some at the back. Let's take a step back and look at the distribution of the lanterns. I'm happy with that. Now I'll go in with some greenery and some flowers. I've got some mushrooms here. And then to stick with the colour palette and keep it nice and simple so that our big mushroom really pops, I'm using some white flowers. So I've got some lily of the valley, and some oxeye daisies. And now that I've got this whole build complete, I'll get rid of my chest so we can have a look at it. I hope you enjoyed these ideas. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing for more videos like this one, and leave a comment with your favorite one below. I'll see you in another video.